Hello everyone, this is Rashi Aditi Ghosh. I am the senior assistant editor of the magazine called the Banking and Finance Post, which is India's leading magazine on innovation in BFSI. And this magazine is published by Elets Technomedia, which is India's leading B2B organization. And today I'm here to welcome you all to yet another episode of Elets Innovation Talk. And today at Innovation Talk, we have with us Mr. Ravi Sundarajan. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Gupshup. At Gupshup, Ravi heads product operations, overseas management, business development, and support functions. Under his leadership, Gupshup has grown to become the leading conversational engagement platform that handles over 9 billion messages per month. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Ravi, and welcome to Elets Innovation Talk. So, to begin with, what are you doing at Gupshup? You are, you're aware that you're bringing innovation. You're doing new things to conversational AI. So, my first question would be, how can the banks power conversational engagement technologies to drive personalization as interactivity? What are your views in this regard? Over to you, Mr. Ravi.
Thanks for having me, and it's exciting to be here. So, as you mentioned, there's been a lot of changes in the way the customers are interacting with brands, and especially banks, because banking is something that's very core in developed and developing markets, and it's a pretty important function. And people, depend on access to capital. And nowadays, a lot of things are moving online, payments, and so there's of the 100 unicorns in India. Around two-thirds of them are related to kind of either fintech or something to do with online businesses. So it's kind of so the world of banking and finance is changing. It's a lot of technology is being infused into it, and I think there are three reasons why this has completely accelerated in the last 2 years, and the acceleration has been 10, 20, 30x, which we ourselves have noticed. And So the first one is obviously, the pandemic, right? When the pandemic happened, people had to do everything remotely, and they couldn't even go to a branch to withdraw money or even go and buy things and do all the stuff. So the need to work remotely became very important. The second thing is that there were things that were already ripe for innovation, which was the smartphone adoption and the bandwidth costs in India were going down a lot. Geo made bandwidth very cheap. We have one of the cheapest bandwidth rates anywhere in the world. And smartphone adoption even started going to tier two, tier three cities where people just have a smartphone and the only application they have is WhatsApp because they get that and that's the gateway to the internet, right? So popular mobile messaging technology also. So that kind of technology was there for people to interact from their mobile and have a rich interaction, just not SMS or text messaging, right? And the third thing is that once you are doing things remote and you have access to all this stuff, so what happens is when, for example, when you go to a store physically and you're saying, okay, I'm going to go to Nykaa to get makeup, and you just show up at the store. Sometimes they may have the shade you want. You may just have 1 hour lunchtime to get this done. There may not be enough sales reps to cater to you. So you look at quickly what you can. You may get what you want, or you may not get what you want, and you leave, right? And then you have to do it some other time. Whereas here now, what happens is that whole experience is different because I'm sitting there. I can interact with my brand 24 hours, 7 days a week, because you're remote. You can do it in the night at midnight. You can do it anytime you're free. If you're working or the kids are asleep, you can just decide when you want to interact with them, right? So the thing becomes much so now, because you have all the time and you have the time to personalize these things. You can just say, okay, I have these 50 shades. I want to pick this is what matches me, and then I will pick the right shade, and then I'll also do comparison shop. And the whole thing is personalized and interactive. It's interactive because you have the time, and now you have the technology also. People are enabling you to do that. So personalization, interactivity, and always on. Always on is because you're now, if the brand is willing to take your business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, then they also should have support 24 hours, 7 days a week, right? So the whole thing has changed now. So this trend is not going to go away. These three trends, which is personalization, interactivity, and always on, right? And this, because of the bunch of factors, be it availability of even new payment technologies, UPI. The payments on UPI is more than even credit cards in India, right? So there was a lot of innovations that happened: smartphone adoption, bandwidth cost, fintech innovations, fintech unicorns. All these stuff were happening in addition to the remoteness and the consumer trend towards personalization and interaction. Together has been a perfect storm that's completely changed the consumer behavior and disrupted it. And people cannot get away from this. Now, a lot of banks woke up and said, wow, look at this. There are small companies. There are people who can get approval for first time job holders. There's a company called that we work with, CreditWise Capital. Within an hour, they can get pre-approved loan for a two-wheeler, right? It's two by two. Then they can take that and go to the nearest dealer with the QR code and get to purchase a scooter. But you just do their credit check and you look at their credit history and you do it. But if they go to a bank, they'll say, "You just had a job 6 months ago. What do we do?" So all these things, right? People are giving personalized loans quickly and figuring out all the credit worthiness. So there are a lot of innovations that have happened. Access to capital, payment technologies, doing everything online. So now the banks are waking up and they're saying we need to catch up with this, and not only catch up with what's happening with the more digitally native companies and people who are digitally ahead, but also with the consumers. You have to go where the consumers are. You can't expect the consumers to come physically interact with you in a bank. You have to go, if they are on WhatsApp, you go on WhatsApp. They're Instagram, go on Instagram. So that's how the whole world has changed. And that trend is not going to go away. And it's imperative for all the banks and financial institutions to adapt to this so that they can cater to their consumers and go where they are and have much more personalized, interactive, rich experiences. Otherwise, they'll be left behind. And so it's becoming a number one imperative, not only at the CEO level, at the CIO level, at the CXO level for these banks, and it's a number one agenda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ravi. Yes, that's indeed very important point that you have added. That personalization is something which is very important and imperative, and financial institutions that are no lesser than frontline workers who are working hard to maintain, the financial needs of the people. They need to be personalized. They need to, enhance their level of technology adaptation, and conversational AI is something which is very close to people and they are very close to their phones. So that's a very good way to reach people and to keep the financial institutions connected with the people. So thank you for the question and the answer. I think you have very well answered it, and it shows that how important it is for banks to now, it's high time to take up such innovations in their operations, so that they're close to people and they're 24 hours available to everyone. Moving on to the next question of today's innovation talk, that we were talking about conversational AI, personalization, and engagement. So, in your view, how do you think, why banks or financial institutions find it hard to offer personalized banking services to millions of customers at the same time? So, we are going to the next level of the question that we just
Yeah.
discussed.
That's a very good question because I think even for, we'll come to banks in a second, but even when anyone, any startup, anybody starting a company, nobody's starting a company to talk to 10 customers, 100 customers, 1,000 customers. Anybody who starts a business says, my business should do well and I have to have millions of customers. But the problem when you have millions of customers is how do you personalize to so many customers? Because as personalization at scale becomes really tough. And the only way you can do that is if you have to reach everyone and give a personalized experience to everyone. The one way of doing it, and I think this is the most innovative and the best way to do it, is what do people have that they use every day, right? So you're using a phone, right? Everybody has a mobile phone in India, especially in emerging markets. They skip the nobody has landlines anymore. Everybody just has mobile phones, right? And landlines were taking forever. But what is the number one thing you do in your mobile phone? Messaging, right? You send text messages to people. You're on WhatsApp, you're on Instagram, even interactions with Facebook or LinkedIn, or everything is through your mobile phone, right? Any app you interact with is through your mobile phone. And all the apps, what do? You post messages, you receive messages, you post images, you receive images. It's all about conversation and messaging, right? So that is the number one thing that you do in your mobile, and the most important thing that people spend so much time on their mobile, right? So if the brands have to have personalization at scale, they have to have a mobile conversational interaction and a mobile interaction. A conversation happens through mobile, right? So, and how do they do this? And it's not easy because now they have to know. For example, I'll give you an example. We work with big banks, right? HDFC, ICICI, Kotak, IndusInd, so on and so forth, Citibank, right? They all have millions of templates for messaging, right? For example, credit card, debit card transaction, ATM transaction, personalized offers for some deal that they want, which they think they'll be useful and all that stuff. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do. So handling, and typically a big bank has about 14 to 15 million templates, right? So if I have to now figure out of the 15 million messages, which goes on which channel, which is allowed, promotional is not allowed on certain channels like WhatsApp, or then some, then in context, what's on RCS. We send billions of messages on different things, like RCS to Android phones, WhatsApp, Instagram, Google Business Messages, SMS, voice. We also have we are quite the biggest voice company, so we have lots of people will say, okay, I'll send a voice note, a voice deflection. If the IVR is taking too long, then I will send it on WhatsApp, so that the people don't want to wait on IVR. Right? Completion rate is only 25% on a voice thing, because people don't want to wait, or sometimes the connection is not good, especially when you're in offices and all that. The connections are not so stable and all that, right? So people don't want to. So there are multiple channels you have to reach. So you have millions of templates through multiple channels, and then how do you aggregate all this information? Because there are CRM companies, there are ERP companies, but nobody has a conversational data platform, right? Or saying, okay, which channel did I reach which customer, and what was the response rate, and did they click on the image, didn't click on the image, did they interact with the video, didn't interact with the video, what happened to the voice call, when did it drop off, when and what time, when we are having a conversational engagement on a bot. Was it a WhatsApp bot, was it an Instagram bot, was it a RCS bot, was it a Google bot, was it a web chat bot, right? Sometimes people come on the web and interact and do a bot. So there are tons. We cater to 30 channels, right? And overall, actually, now it's, I know you said 4.5, it's gone to 9 billion now, right? This was like a year ago. We're doubling, right? So all these things, the scale and the complexity and the technology, it's so everybody has a strength. I'm not going to sit and make CRM software. I'm not going to sit and make ERP software. Banks buy somebody else's ERP software, somebody else's CRM software. So they need a conversational engagement platform that will cater to their customers at scale across multiple channels, and know when to send and what channel, and what will get the most response at what time of the day, and what time you need to do. And even promotions, right? We figure it out and say we have recency, frequency, and how fast you should do it. And also we can control the message by phone number, by template, by the channel, right? By the WABA WhatsApp account or any other account they have. So then people don't get frustrated. Some people say, why am I receiving all these messages? So we have personalization technology will say who went on the shopping cart and when did they stop shopping, right? They'll say, I'm looking for a deal, I'll leave. And one of the companies actually sent last Diwali, and from they sent a message based on people's which item they shopped, and they abandoned the shopping cart. They say, hey, you were looking for this item, now there's 20% off for Diwali, you want to buy. They got $500,000 more in sales by just this one campaign, right? In that month, October last year, right? So then when you personalize and say, hey, you were looking for this product, but now there's a sale, you buy it. So all that stuff, you need this combination of a conversational engagement platform that understands this and can do it, can integrate with Shopify, can integrate with the CRM tools, Lead Square or CleverTap or any of the stuff that they're using, Salesforce, uh, and be able to do all this stuff. So that's kind of why it's important. And so banks, sometimes they try to do it on their own. They say, oh, we can do it, it's simple. They start off with one web chat channel, then they realize, oh, we are missing out. So I think when people realize it's imperative and they go to the people who can do it the best, then that's important. First, they need to realize it's very important. And once they realize it's very important, they said, you can't do it just for 5% of my customer base or 10% of my customer base. I want to do it my entire customer base. Then when they realize you have to do it to, a lot of people do it as an experiment, and they'll say, I'll do it myself, I'll do it for a small customer base, I'll try it for employees first, then I'll try for my high net worth banking customers. But then you spend half 6 months doing it, and sometimes the results aren't good. So if you decide you want to do it, you keep trying it till you get good at it, because everything, practice makes perfect, right? So you have to do it. So once you decide you're going to do it and you're going to reach every customer, millions of customers, then you go get the help you need, then it'll happen. But sometimes when you do it half-heartedly and you're saying, I'm just going to do it for a little bit, I tried it, it didn't work. It's not a question of tried, it didn't work. You have to make it work, because otherwise you'll lose out on your customers. and you have to interact with them and go where they are. So that's where people things break down. But if once they decided they want to do it and they want to reach millions of customers, there are enough people who will help them to do it.
Very, very well briefed, because I understand banks generally have this notion that we are ready to do everything, we know everything, we have been the leaders. But a financial institution which is handling something, a country like India, where age group and the level of their smartphone handling or technology adaptation is so diverse. There are cultural
Different
gaps,
dialects,
there
yeah,
are
different
languages.
dialects, different cities. 150 million people in Bombay, Delhi,
Yes,
Bangalore is
yes,
very different from
yes,
the
yes.
rest of the 500 people in tier two, tier three cities. And there's
Yes,
another,
this is yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
This is where you need an expert who already has a database and knowledge on how to handle this and personalized the word the service that you provide. That is something which
yeah,
is very important for people who are working 9+ hours every day, doesn't have time to
right.
even find out what is there in their phone. Somebody is doing it for you, so it's
Yeah,
served
that's why. And
on
in fact,
care.
yeah, 2 years ago we changed our tagline to one-on-one with everyone. So what we are saying is, it doesn't mean you have to do one-on-one personalization. Doesn't matter. You have to do it with everyone, every one of your customers. If there are millions of customers, you have a one-on-one interaction with all million of your customers, right? So that's kind of what our tagline is.
Right. It's like not a generic view, but a person. Like everybody feels special, that at least
Yeah.
these people have a tap on what I am doing and what I want. So yeah, going taking this conversation on diversity forward. We would like to now talk about the remote areas where people use phones, but not smartphone. Most of them, they've got feature phones. So how is Gupshup helping them? How is this personalized
Yeah.
conversational AI messaging
Yeah.
reaching them?
So I think 3 or 4 years ago, NPCI had a grand challenge. They had a competition, and they said how people who can come up with like payment technologies on feature phones that is as good as smartphone, because the smartphone there's so much thing people have Google Pay, Phone Pay, UPI, all that stuff, right? So they said, can you replicate that on a feature phone? And we won that challenge, right? And since then we've been working with RBI, NPCI, and a few other IFTAS and a few other people, and we made a lot of headway. And there are a lot of projects that are that we are working with them. They've launched and they're piloting, and they've asked banks to use some of that. And what we want to do is enable the similar kind of as good a smartphone experience in feature phone, especially for payments. Because the biggest thing that people want to do is now with UPI, it becomes much more easier, because people, even in a remote, believe it or not, everybody's not on smartphone. So there is tier one cities that are using the latest apps and the latest smartphones, really huge smartphones, iPhones or the biggest Android phones. But then you go to tier two cities, they just have a minimal smartphone with just WhatsApp. They don't have enough bandwidth. In fact, some brands, they in fact download the app, figure out the deal, then uninstall the app and do the deal on WhatsApp, right? That's why they all have to go on WhatsApp, for example, right? Then there's a whole set of another population that's still on feature phones. They can't even afford a small smartphone. So why leave them out? You want to reach to all 900 million people in India, and it's not 100, 200 million people in big cities, or the 300, 400 million people in tier two, tier three cities. But we want to reach to everybody, all the 900 million people, which may include smartphones. And so that's one of the reasons why we've been working very hard on that, and we've made a lot of headway. And we also have our own called Gupshup IP messaging thing, that when you install it on a feature phone, it gives you the web chat experience. And with that web chat experience, it'll do as much as you can do in the feature smartphone. But obviously you can't have WhatsApp and Instagram, all that stuff has to be on a smartphone. So those apps are not on feature phone, but at least our IP messaging channel is on the smartphone, that allows you to give the IP messaging experience with payments and some of the features, like SMS will come as a card, so it look like a card, and you can have buttons and all that. So that's how we do it.
First of all, congratulations on helping the nation in building, itself. And I think financial inclusion is something which is there in the priority list for years. And I think Gupshup is doing a wonderful job by helping, these feature phone users in, getting close to the banking services. So you're
Yeah.
directly helping nation building. So,
And one other
congratulations.
thing I'd like to add is not only in India, in Africa, in Asia, and other parts of the world where
Wonderful.
emerging markets, people are using feature phones, right? So that's where it's useful there too.
Very, very well done in this regard, and this actually gives a lot of pleasure in understanding how a technology company is understanding the needs of people who are at the grassroots level, helping us, and they were not in the headlines, and now you are helping them with your technology, which is a very good effort. So moving forward, the next question is about the world which is changing, the financial institutions that are changing. So the future in the banking domain, we are talking about it. Digital banks, fintech and fintech companies come, the numbers are increasing in India, and also across the world. But with their rise, there is an administrative and implementation challenges as well. There are regulatory norms that are coming midway. So what can Gupshup do, and in this regard, and what more can be done to address these challenges, because these are basically the future of the country and the world.
Right. So, and your, I think your question is, how do these fintech companies overcome regulations, or how do traditional banks reduce
No,
regulations?
not just overcoming is a part, but progressing in this regard and continuously working, and trying to prove a point which is valid. So Gupshup, being a technology leader, how are you working in this regard?
Right. So I think there are some regulations that are valid. Consumer privacy is very important. We want to protect that. And in fact, a lot of the people will say, "Hey, I don't want I don't like the privacy or security of a certain app that we are using." And then even the banks will say, "Can you host it on prem?" We want. Some people say, "I want to keep the data on prem." Sometimes you have local country regulation like GDPR in Europe. They'll say you can't take the data out of the country or the continent, right? So there are regulations related to security and privacy that are important, and we cater to that, and we're compliant. And we think and we want to be sensitive to that, because some people will say, "I want to make sure," because they're in charge of data security of their consumers and the privacy of the data, so that we respect that, and we also we do opt-in management for everybody, so people get what they want and not get what they don't want, right? So there we are ahead, and we have done a lot of work on security and privacy, and in fact, by working with so many different apps. And I think the usage varies, right? WhatsApp in a lot of countries, but in Vietnam it's like Zalo, in Line in Thailand, and some other countries it's Viber and more in Philippines, right? China's WeChat, so stuff like that. So everybody has their own things, and then they have their flavor of requirements. But we work across, and we want to make sure that if people want on-prem, we allow that. If people want to cloud hosted, they say, "No, I want cloud in this country," then we keep it in that country. So those are the things we do. But there are other things that we need to change also, like sometimes just saying that, "Hey, this notification has to go on an SMS. If not, it's not valid." There are some countries where we have helped do that. And the reason being that today, if for example I'm traveling, if you're going on a vacation to Vietnam, or you're going to Cambodia to visit Angkor Wat, right? And you want to get your transaction, whether my pay slip has been deposited or not, and your phone connectivity is not good, right? And you can't get it in your local network. So then what do? Then you want to get it on WhatsApp, right? So we tell the banks, "Hey, why can't you send these notifications on WhatsApp, even though RBI regulation says you send it on SMS, but send it on WhatsApp too?" Because then you're enabling some of these two-factor authentication use cases on multiple channels. Sometimes, in addition to SMS, you can call voice into it. So those are things that we are working with the regulators to change. Some of these things it's allowed. And there are certain other regulations also, like using more interactive technologies, and what are the boundaries. And sometimes, I know for voice they say it has to be all on PSTN, but we say, okay, the core can be on PSTN, but can we deflect it and use WebRTC to send it off that? So then people, call center, especially when the pandemic was happening, they all can't be sitting in the call center taking the company's phones, but they can get it on their mobile, right? So then it goes and lands on their mobile, and stuff like that. So that's kind of what the thing was. So we were able to do those type of things, and people were able to do it. Even in the UAE, we were giving some of those things, and also sometimes also improving the security by working with companies like Truecaller and saying, "Okay, you can show the ID," and also enabling the company to show their ID, so that the pickup rate is higher, right? It won't come as asked. If you're working with like Zomato in Dubai, then it'll show us, if the call comes, it'll show us Zomato, call from Zomato, the user will pick up, right? Click to call, connecting drivers with users and stuff like that. So I think the various regulations are there. The spectrum is whole thing, but we want to ensure the security and then privacy of the consumers is protected, while we also drive innovations that helps customers experience. So the overall experience is kind of well managed.
Very well said. So, taking the conversation ahead, now you spoke about conversation, customer engagement. So now today, the attention span of every individual is very less, and we have variety of options when you have your phone in hand. The world is in the phone. So, how do you make the customer conversations more engaging, more interactive, and with the technologies that or solutions that you provide, what do you do to retain and help them understand that
Right.
this technology is important and you should stay with it?
Yeah. So I think in fact, we talk about use cases and we take three different categories. One is pre-purchase, purchase, post-purchase. And pre-purchase, we call it conversational marketing. Purchase is conversational commerce, and post-purchase is conversational support, right? So where we make sure that the brands understand it and everybody understands it and make sure they all get value and ROI, and so that it stays with it. And also then if brands are able to retain the customers and engage the customers more and get good ROI, then they will come back to it, right? So I can give you some examples. Like No Broker has started, and when they were one of the first adopters of WhatsApp, because we were lucky to be the first WhatsApp partner in the world, because they were just deciding whether they should use a partner or not. And we've been doing it this for 4.5 years. So one of the first use cases was a company like No Broker, and that time people were saying, why would we so much for WhatsApp? It's 3-4 times instead of SMS. Why should we do it? Not do it, right? So their thing was people were taking 3 days to post a listing online. I'm giving example, right? So now with 2 minutes, you can take a photo and post your listing online. Immediately supports come. Similarly, for a bank, if they're spending so many hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on so many call center agents doing so many things, right? So now what you can just say is, hey, listen, of these 20% of the calls, you don't need to do a call. You can do a deflection on a message, or you can do a chat. You can support it with most commonly asked questions. You can say, hey, if it's a problem with you know most commonly asked question, then you just respond to that, right? We helped several of the banks like Citibank and others, right? We also personalization, as I told you. For Citibank, we did link tracking where people would be able to say you make a deal or an offer co-branded with Flipkart or anybody else. You offer this promotion, say, hey, you go on Flipkart, use Citibank card, you get this much discount, and then say, what is the click-through rate on that? Can I track it and do that, right? So that's a pre-purchase journey where you use quality-based messaging with like on WhatsApp. You actually, based on what they want, you personalize the offer and you send it to them, and then they click through and it comes, right? And so those type of things that we do. On purchase, we have the thing called one-click bill pay. Now, typically, when you have to make payments, bill payments, right? You get an SMS reminder, hey, you haven't paid your bill, it's overdue. So then what you have to do, you have to go to your insurance company and say, what is my account? First, you have to log in. Then you'll say, what is my account number? What is my policy number? How much do I owe? All that stuff has to be entered, and then you say pay. What we did is we worked with obviously UPI helped us. We innovated. We offer UPI options and also Google Pay and Phone Pay and a bunch of other things that use UPI. So here, what you do is we one-click bill pay, and this was some of the innovations we did along with feature phone thing. So what we do is you we aggregate and figure out, okay, on WhatsApp they will say, we'll figure out that this is how much they owe, this is the insurance policy number, this is account number. So it'll just say, instead of sending an SMS reminder, you need to pay, say, hey, your thing is overdue, play, and you just say pay now, right? So in the message you'll have a pay now button with button templates. With WhatsApp has a button, and the thing is we went and innovated with all these channels, right? We made interactive buttons, thumbs up, thumbs down, templates, rich images, all that stuff to make it much more interactive. And if you have options to pick which choice, right? These are my surveys, feedback surveys, all that makes much more easier, um, with kind of buttons and templates and a whole bunch of other things, right? And we make it much more interactive too, uh, by enabling all these rich media options. So now they just say pay now, and then it'll say you want to pay through Google Pay, Phone Pay, any other, all the things that support UPI. It's done. And even WhatsApp Pay is coming up now. Even when they didn't have P2P, they had P2P payment, but not merchant to person payment, A2P payment, uh, P2M payment they didn't have, but we enabled it by using their buttons and this thing and working with other payment gateway providers. So we enable that, right? So we support them on Razorpay, on Say2, and a whole bunch of other options that we do. So all these things, and then also eKYC. when people want to do eKYC, several banks have used, several institutions have used as financial institutions, where now, even like I told you about Credit-Wise Capital, they were offering these loans. You immediately know everything about the person. We tie in with Karza and a few other apps. They automatically pull the credit information, credit worthiness, and everything else. And quickly, within a few minutes, you know, is this person credit worthy, not credit worthy? You can offer the loan, what you can do. You make the process much more easy. Even like Zomato, think about it. WhatsApp is one of the most popular apps, right? Zomato is also popular. Uber is popular. Ola is popular. But all of them uses for things like driver onboarding, right? And even financial institutions that start off, right? Bharat Pay and Cred and all those things that they do. A lot of these online institutions that are coming up, when they want to figure out bill pay reminders or enabling merchants access to capital, and so on and so forth. So it becomes Credit B giving access to capital to people. So all these people have been used some of these journeys. So overall, people see a huge ROI because you're reducing their customer acquisition costs by enabling people to get the deal they're looking for at the right time, with the right offer, which is much more personalized and interactive. We're enabling commerce to more efficient transactions like one-click bill pay, and also better enabling access to capital and a whole bunch of other conversational commerce journeys and purchase journeys by doing things like eKYC and one-click bill pay, all this stuff. And post-purchase, we're improving the support process by making the feedback very interactive. And also, when you ship anything, you make it, you can get much more feedback using QR codes and a whole bunch of other things, and reducing support costs for companies because they don't have to keep everything through agents and phones and stuff like that. So by using multiple channels. So overall, they're seeing a huge ROI, which is clearly helping them uh, acquire and retain, and acquire, engage, and retain more customers. And so when they see value, the customers see value, everybody benefits. Customers benefit, the brands benefit. So it's a self-fulfilling cycle where we are adding value, they're getting the value, and they're able to retain the customers more. And customers also like the experience, and it's much more stickier.
Yeah, so that's true. In today's world, multitasking and being heard, these are two bigger challenges that we face. Such that you cannot sit for one thing. Call centers are taking time. Working days, we will solve it in within 72 working hours and all. Doing it in WhatsApp or any instant messaging app. The complaint has been registered. You are being heard, and somebody is listening to you constantly. You can anytime book the
Yeah.
lodge the complaint, or yeah,
They don't
request.
have to
Yes,
wait on the phone for somebody to come
yes,
online, talk to
yes,
them, or IVR they have to go through. Because a lot of
yes,
people don't even understand what they're saying, right? That's a
yes.
problem, right?
Yeah, so that is something very important. I think customers pay a lot of value to these small but very important easy access to
Yeah.
system, because for them time is very important. And if a
Yeah.
company is understanding that, for them, they don't want anything
Right.
more. So I
Imagine
think that's a
recharges, right? People do recharges. Before it used to take so long, you have to call Tata Sky and say, I want to recharge. Now
yeah,
on WhatsApp, you just say, you pay a few rupees and recharge it. You're on UPI, you pay 24 rupees and you have a new channel done. Then in like few seconds. That was taking, several hours to call and do that.
yeah, that's on the go. That is very important. So okay, so now I would like to know your view on the company and the organization you're associated with. How does Gupshup implement the conversational engagement with new customers using the existing customers feedback? Because the customer part is very dynamic today, everything is changing in every minute. So, how are you using the feedback that you receive from your existing customers in acquiring new customers who are equally dynamic or maybe more?
Yeah, especially the new customers. We've been lucky today. Of the 100 unicorns in India, about 75, 76 are B2B, right? Of these, 82% of them are our customers. 60, so 63 of the 72 are our customers. So if you look at it, the the reason we are acquiring all these new customers, as and when these startups come, and not even Sunicons, also we have about 66% of the Sunicons, right? So Sunicons are soon to be unicorns. So that's a new term these days, right? So there, what they do is these guys come and we automatically acquire and engage them, because these are new. Even if some other companies are using it, a new startup comes, they're saying, how do we use this? they're able to tailor the journeys much better, especially if they're new customers. They're saying, "Oh, you learned this. Now I won't make this mistake. I will just do it this way." So we're able to impart, say, "This is how we tried. This worked. This didn't work." So as in newer customers keep coming, they benefit from the learnings and experiences and mistakes that the existing customers made. So it gets faster for them. And then with them, when we try something new, we get another new innovation that's again used for the other customers, right? So everybody is learning from others, and it's benefiting from each other's experiences. And that's one of the reasons we be able to grow as much, by acquiring new customers. We, last year, we added about 2,000 customers. This year we're going to add more. So every month, we are adding about close to a couple of hundred customers this month, right? More than that. And plus, this is just enterprise, but we also have a self-serve engine where thousands of people come and try and do it, where we don't even do that, right? So there we add another 300. So overall, we're adding about 500 customers a month, and these guys are all benefiting from each other's, and they keep adding, right? So that's a thing. And then we are not only in India, but we're also growing in various emerging markets like LATAM and Southeast Asia and Middle East and Africa, and Eastern Europe. So I think we're very excited. It's a great time to be in this area and space, and I think the huge opportunity for all customers and everyone to kind of use this technology, because personalization, interaction, and always on is something, whether they do it with Gupshup or anybody else, has to be there. And then and it's all as a big ecosystem. We're all learning and improving and learning from each other and growing and benefiting from all this.
Absolutely, and I think the name of the company itself is very close to heart. It feels that you're talking to somebody who knows you well, because we generally do gupshup with people who are in our acquaintance. So all the best with all your projects that you have lined up. And AI is actually very in a very progressive stage. It's very exciting, and I believe Gupshup is going to come up with a lot of more innovation in
Yeah.
this
And we've been doing a
arena.
lot of acquisitions too to get
Yes,
into BFS,
yes, yes.
getting into BFSI AI,
Mm-hmm.
retail AI, and a whole bunch of other things, and
Right,
also in
right.
support e-commerce and marketing. So we're excited.
So, all right, Ravi, thank you so much for your time today. I believe these conversations like this help us bring the awareness level to the max, where people are getting knowledge on technologies that are going to change the world today and tomorrow. And in between, I mean, the time when we are still facing the challenges of pandemic, something positive like this, that technology is there with them. Technology is going to help them. It is for them. And you're working with financial institutions that we require every day, and they are equally frontline workers like the healthcare system. So thank you so much for joining us today for a Let's Innovation Talk, and we're really delighted that we could speak about the offerings that you have for our customers. And with this, we end this conversation here. And
Thanks.
we believe next time when we meet for a Let's Innovation Talk, we will have more interesting news and updates from from Gupshup's end and from your end. Thank you, Mr. Ravi, for joining us today.
Thanks, Rashi. Bye.
Yeah, pleasure talking to you. Namaskar.